Good evening, students. Can you hear me? Hello, good evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We can start the session because we have to finish this question today itself, because next week we have to sit for the mid exam. So we can start this. So I have already shared this document and all other answer sheets also I have shared for employment income. I think you have got it. Then this is the question paper 2. So this is mainly for the calculation of assessable income from the business. I think you try to calculate the assessable income as your homework. Let's do this together. So this is regarding Mr. Sampath. So he has a business that is a garment manufacturing business. So you have given the business details, transaction details in this paper. One by one we can move towards the assessable income. If prior to this part, if you have any questions regarding the last question paper or employment income, you can ask. Then later we can start the calculation. You can ask if you have any issue. Silence means no questions, so we can start. So Mr. Sampath commenced his business activities from 2019. Yes, there's a question. Let's see what. Subject outline. Okay, I think I thought that was shared by the impact. That means by Ms. Kalhari. Yes, I will share it with you. Okay. So this is Mr. Sampath's business details. So you have to do the calculation for the assessable income for the year of assessment 25-26. You have given the profit, so we call it business profit, book profit, that is 20 million to 20.51 million. So this is the profit for the year of assessment 25-26. That means profit as per the book accounting profit, not the profit calculated in accordance with the Income Tax Act. That means this is not the taxable profit but the book profit. So you know you will receive, you are given this kind of book profit. Later you have to calculate the profit in accordance with the Income Tax Act. So this is the book profit. Then you have given other operating income, including in the accounting profit. That means when he is calculating his book profit, he included this profits also. Here you can see profit on disposal of motor lorry. Then scrap sales. Scrap sales means that is also a part of the business income, but it is in the book profit they have considered it as a separate one. Then the profit on disposal of land. So land profit, sale of land profit and sale of motor lorry profit is also available. That profit also included in the book profit. So you know that this profit on disposal of motor lorry and profit on disposal of land was calculated in accordance with the accounting standards, not the tax provisions. Therefore, we do not consider this profit as a profit. What we have to do is we have to remove this profit from the total profit, because we do not consider it as a profit. Therefore, first of all we have to remove this profit from the book profit. Then we have to calculate profit or loss in accordance with the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act. Then in calculating the accounting profit, this person means the Sampath, has deducted these expenses. In calculating the accounting profit means this profit, the expenses including the following expenses. That means not all expenses are not provided in this table. In addition to this deduction, this expenditure, there were another expenditure. All expenditure were deducted in arriving at this book profit, but specifically you have given this expenditure because these are the expenditure that are subject to some changes in accordance with the Income Tax Act. So therefore, all other expenses deducted are allowable for tax purposes. So we assume that there are a lot of expenditure. So after deducting all expenditure, Mr. Sampath arrived this profit, but only that expenditure provided under this table should be considered for the tax purposes, because other expenditure other than the expenditure provided in this table are considered as allowable for tax purposes. That is an assumption. So that assumption has been written here in this note, under this note 2. Then you have given property, plant and equipment details. So opening balance is there. Then during the period, additions, that means purchases, and during the period, sales, disposals are also provided. Then the balance also provided in the last column. Then in the same table you can see depreciation calculated according to the accounting standards, not according to the tax purposes. Therefore we do not consider this one, but after deducting this total depreciation, they have Mr. Sampath calculated this profit. So the total depreciation deducted 21,800,000 is the depreciation provided in this table. So you can see 21.8. So this is the book depreciation. So we have deducted it in arriving at the book profit. You can see here now. Then you have given notes one by one. This note 4 is applicable for the whole. It has already been included here. So this kind of calculations I have done in the capital allowance questions. That means I have extracted these details from that question, because I wanted to show you how I have included that kind of special items in the final examination. Final means for the examination. It can be either for mid-exam or a final exam. This is how we are including that kind of calculations. So one by one I have given one by one notes for each expenditure or each capital nature expenditure or fixed asset. So this is for the wall. Then wall means it is included in the land. Then you have given details for buildings. Then you have given details for machines. Then you have given details for other office equipments, then motor vehicles, then computers. After that you have given several expenditure details. So this is for staff welfare expenditure. You can see that kind of expenditure in this table. It says staff expenditure, total amount is 8.6 million, but the breakup of this 8.6 million is given in this table. Here it comprises death donation, tea expenses, staff party expenses, factory safety uniform and period ceremony expenditure. Altogether it should be tallied with the equal to the staff welfare expenditure. Likewise, I have given several expenditure and the breakup of expenditure. Here you can see management fee expenditure. Then you can see advertising expenditure. So for the advertising expenditure also you have given a breakup. So you have to consider one by one. Each item should be considered for the deduction. Some expenses are not allowable as a deduction. Some expenses are allowable as a deduction. So, but in the book profit, in arriving at the book profit, all these expenses were deducted. So, therefore, we have to consider whether that is allowable for the deduction or not. If it is not allowable, then what you have to do? You have to add that deduction because they have already deducted. If it is not allowable, that part should be added to the profit because of that not allowable deduction resulted a lesser profit. So we have to increase the profit by adding that unallowable, disallowable expenditure. Then foreign travel expenses also given. There's a breakup. Then balances of provision for gratuity. There's a breakup. Then carried forward business loss. That means all specific deduction rules and all deductions that can be happen in a organization are provided in this example. So we have to go one by one to be concerned whether to be determined whether those expenses are allowable as a deduction or not. So if you have a question you can ask. If you don't have a question, we can move to the answer sheet. From that answer sheet we can do the calculation. Can you see the answer sheet? Can you see this answer sheet? Hello, I think it is visible.
Ma'am.
Yes. We can go to the question. So, in the first part, in the first note, you have given other operating income, but prior to that, we have to consider the So this is Mr. Sampath Pereira. We are going to compute computation of assessable incomes. Then for the year of assessment 25-26, we can go through the document, the question from each note. So the profit, there is a profit. Since it is a profit, so this is the format we have to do your answer sheet. You have to do the calculation. So add column and less column is there. Then here I am starting it from the business income because there is no indication, not mentioned about the employment income or the investment income details. Only the business income details are available. So if you have information about the employment prior to this business income, you have to do that calculation. That means you have to do the calculation for assessable income from employment income. Then you have to start assessable income from business. So that is the way you have to do. Priority should be given to the assessable income from employment. So because that is dominant. Then the business income, you have given profit before tax as per the account. So that is 20,100,000. 20,100,000. Since it is a profit, we put that amount in the add column. Suppose it is a loss, then you have to mention it under less column, not the add column. Since this is a profit, you have to put it under add column. Then we can move to the first note. It says other operating income included in the accounting profit. So even though that is included in the other operating income, they have considered it as a business income. So but for the tax purpose, we have to consider that income separately. That is why we are going to deduct that profit from the book profit. So we have to consider the scrap sales first. Scrap sales means for the tax purposes it is also considered as a business receipt. Therefore, we are not going to remove it from the book profit. That is why I have not mentioned any amount in the less column, because scrap sales are completely relevant for the business income. That is why we have included it in it is already included in this 20 million, so we are not going to remove it from the business income. But then there is a profit on disposal of land and profit on disposal of lorry. This land profit and lorry profit, disposal profits are not considered for the business income, but we have to calculate that profit separately. That is why we are removing it from the book profit. After that, we have to do this calculation to calculate tax profit on disposal of land and tax profit on disposal of lorry. So it will be calculated later on. Until then, we have to remove that profit. Then we are going to calculate the depreciation. In the normal calculation method, we are doing it. First of all, we are doing the depreciation. First of all, we have to do the depreciation calculation because it is the very important one. There are a lot of items are there. Therefore, first of all, we can do the depreciation calculation. But prior to starting that calculation, our main thing, the first thing we have to do is we have to add the accounting depreciation. Why? Because that depreciation is calculated in accordance with the standards, not in accordance with the tax purpose. Therefore, we do not allow the deduction of book depreciation. Therefore, we added that one, 21.8 million. That is the depreciation. They have already deducted. You can see it under note 2 in the first table. In the not the first table, in the second table, that is the relevant. That table is relevant for note 2. So after deducting that one, we have to calculate the capital allowances. So for the depreciation calculated in accordance with the tax purposes, we call it capital allowances, not the depreciation. So now we are going to calculate capital allowances. So under that capital allowances calculation, first item mentioned in the act, in the question is land. That is why we have to start it from there. Otherwise, we will, when you are doing, there may be some missing amount. Therefore, one by one, each item you have to do the calculation. Each item you have to do separately. So first of all, we can consider the land. So for that land, you can see the beginning opening balance of that land is 60 million. Then during the period there is addition, 6 million addition. Then there is a disposal of 10 million. Then balance is available, that is 56 million. So what we have to do first of all, we have to read the note relevant to that land. It is given under note 4. It says, a wall has been constructed around the land by incurring 6 million during this year of assessment, and the said cost has been capitalized under the land account. So you can see that capitalized amount 6 million under additions. So the land in the line of land, you can see 6 million. That is not the purchase of land, but the construction of a wall around the land, but they have capitalized it under land account. So it is wrong. Wall is not considered as a land, so that is why we are going to remove it from the land value. But we have to consider that wall under building. So I think you can remember under the building in the schedule 4 of the Act, Income Tax Act, you can see some depreciable assets. There is a specific table, we call it depreciable asset classification table. In that table you can see classes, 6 classes are there. Class 4 is for the buildings and structures. So wall can be considered as a structure. So therefore for that wall we can grant capital allowances. That is why I have mentioned it here. Wall constructed in the year 25-26, the value is 6 million. So capital allowances can be granted because that wall is considered as a structure. Structures are provided in class 4 in the 4th schedule. So available period, the capital allowances available period is 20 years. So we can divide 6 million from the 20 years to be calculated the relevant capital allowance portion for the wall, that is 300,000. So it is allowable. 21,800 is not allowable, but 300,000 is allowable because it is calculated in accordance with the Income Tax Act. Then we have to consider about the disposal of land. In this land line, in this table, you can see there is a 10 million value. That is the cost of the sold land. So you have given some instructions, some notes, some description here. It says, another piece of land utilized to store dilapidated machines has been sold for 18 million during this year of assessments. That means the cost of that land is provided in the table, that is 10 million. Cost of that land is 10 million. And that land is sold, and after selling that land they incurred 18 million rupees. That means they sold that land for 18 million. Cost of that land is 10 million. Sold value of that land is 18 million. That means the difference between cost and the consideration is 8 million. So that 8 million is the profit. So now we know the profit of that sold land, it is 8 million. So we can add it to the add column. So here you have to keep one important thing in your mind. When we are considering the land sale, first of all we have to consider whether that land is used for the business purpose or not. If we use that land for the business purpose, then only we can categorize the profit profit on that realization or loss on that realization under business income. If that land was used for the investment purpose, we cannot put it that profit or loss under business income. It is very important. Since I have not yet explained about the investment income, for your examination I am not going to check this part very strictly. So it will definitely be a business income, but that consideration is very important. You have to consider whether that land is used for the business purpose or not when you are calculating the business profit, because calculation method of that profit or loss is completely different if that land is used for the business or a investment. For the business, if we use that land for the business purposes, we can deduct the historical cost from the selling price to be calculated the profit. But if that land is used for the investment purpose, we cannot deduct historical cost as a cost. That is the difference between investment asset and the business asset. So now I am not going to confuse you. So if that land is used for the business purposes, you can do that calculation like this. That means the consideration minus historical cost equals profit or loss. Here you can see a profit, so that profit can be added to the add line. So the profit calculated in accordance with the tax law and the accounting standards are completely the same, but we have to do that calculation separately. Then we can move to the balance part of the land. Balance part of the land means we had the opening stock of 60 million. Then during the period we have sold 10 million assets. Then the 60 million minus 10 million is 50 million. For that balance part, you have to write whether there is capital allowance available or not. Here for the lands, capital allowances are not allowable. That is why I have already mentioned here no capital allowances for the balance 50 million. Is okay. Understood the points or not? If you have questions, you can ask. You may have several questions, because I know there are some very new students are there. That means some students are not very they have not studied for tax prior to this course. So therefore, if you have any issue or any question, you can ask. ඕන විදිහකින් ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න. මොකද අදින් පස්සේ next week එකේ ඔයගලන්ට exam. ඇයි මේක එකතු කරේ? ඇයි මේක අඩු කරේ? එකම දේ එකතු කරේ කරලා එකම දේ අඩු කරන්නේ ඇයි? Dilmi asked about the lecture recording. So aren't they share with you today itself? I don't know how they are doing it, because normally I am not recording the I am not doing the recordings, but some students or Miss Kalhari does it. I don't know who are doing that one. I don't know who is responsible for the recording. Normally I am not record any class.
Ma'am, recording link available in the LMS.
So Dilmi, can you ask from them, because they are okay, yes, please ask Miss Kalhari, because she is the responsible for that part. Okay, if you don't have questions regarding the land sale and the land profit, we can move to the next one. Then we are moving to the building part. So in the buildings, there is an opening balance. There is an opening balance that is 42 million. During the period, they have constructed or purchased 8 million buildings. Then balance buildings are 50 million. You have given a breakup for the building. You can see in the year 25-26, purchased value is 8 million. Then the opening balance is a constructed building, that is 42 million. So now we are going to do the calculation for the capital allowances, to grant capital allowances. So you can see the breakup. Then when you are referring this table, you have to consider, you have to determine whether that is that building is used for the business purpose or not. Here one building is used for the factory and the other one is used for the store. That means both are using for the production of income. Therefore that is allowable. Therefore the depreciation on that buildings are allowable as a deduction. Then what is the most important, another two conditions? Owner user condition. Owner user condition means you should be the owner of the, you means Mr. Sampath should be the owner of the building, not only the building, to be deducted capital allowances. Owner user condition should be fulfilled. It should be, that asset should be owned by Mr. Sampath, and he should use that asset during that year of assessment. That two conditions should be fulfilled, then capital allowances can be deducted. So now we are considering the buildings, store and the factory. Both can be considered as used during this period and owned by Mr. Sampath. Then for the store, since it is purchased during the year of assessment 25-26, capital allowances can be granted by assuming that it is already used during this period. The deductible period is 20 years. That is why we have divided it by 20 to calculate annual capital allowance for the building purchased during the year of assessment 25-26. Then there is a factory. That factory also, it is a constructed one during the year of assessment 2021. So we can consider it as used by Mr. Sampath and owned by Mr. Sampath. So we can divide it by 20 to calculate the capital allowances, that is 2.1 million. So since it is allowable deduction, we should put it under less column. Then we can move to the machinery. Next one is for the machinery. It says machinery, in the opening column there is a value 32 million. Then during the period you can see 12 million machines were purchased and no disposals during this period. The balance is 44 million. So you have given a note. It says machines are used in garment manufacturing. One new machine has been imported for this purpose from India during the month of May 25. That is 3.8 million has been the CIF value of this machine, and said value has been capitalized in the machinery account. So you can see these things. Machines are used in the garment manufacturing. One machine has been imported. That means within that machine amount, machine cost 8 million. One machine is an imported one. The other machine, that means purchased locally. So one machine is imported for 3.8 million. That is a CIF value. Said value has been capitalized in the machinery account. Said value has been, said machine has been capitalized in the machinery account. That means only 3.8 million is capitalized. So 3.8 million is CIF value. Then the amount of 200 has been incurred to transport the machine to the factory. 250 and 450, which were incurred for custom and clearing charges and machine installation charges respectively, have been accounted under the machinery maintenance expenditure account. That means CIF value only capitalized. All other expenses incurred for that machine has been mentioned under the machinery maintenance account. So normally prior to the installation, that means including that installation charges, because we are up to the use of that machinery, any amount we are incurring for that machine should be categorized under the cost, not the expenditure for the machinery. Therefore, not only the CIF value, other related expenses up to installation of the machine should be capitalized. That is the law. So, not only 3.8 million, the 200,000, 350,000 plus 150,000, altogether 700,000 should be included to the machine account. Capital nature, that is also a capital nature expenditure. But in this calculation, in this question, that capital nature expenditure was included in the revenue nature expenditure. That means under maintenance expenditure account includes that amount. Therefore, first of all, we have to remove that 700,000 from the machinery maintenance account, because it is not the recurrent expenditure but the capital nature expenditure. I think you can remember under section 11 we can deduct only the revenue nature expenditure from the expenditure accounts. If we have incurred some capital nature expenses, then we have to consider section 12, 13, 14 like that, the specific deduction rules to be deducted that capital nature expenditure. Since this capital nature expenditure is incurred to purchase some assets, this machinery, we have to apply section 16. That is why we have to add that 700,000 to the machine CIF value to be calculated the total cost of that machine, that is 4.5 million. So for that 4.5 million can be considered for granting capital allowances. So up to 5 years period we can grant capital allowances for that 4.5 million, not only 3.8 million. Since this 700,000 is also a capital nature expenditure to be incurred for the purpose of incurred for that machinery, so we have to consider it as a cost. So two situations are there. First of all, since it has already been included under machinery maintenance account, that means that 700,000 is already deducted in arriving at the book profit. That is why, since it is not allowable as a deduction, we added it to the profit. Then we added it to the machinery account to be calculated the capital allowances. So that is this calculation is done for that purpose. Then we can grant capital allowance for that new machine, that is 900,000. But not only that machine, there is another machine, because total amount is what is the total amount purchased during the period? That is 8 million. That is 8 million. So within that 8 million, 3.8 million is for the new machine. So what is the balance part? For that balance part we have to do the calculation. So that is machinery 12 million. That 12 million includes imported machinery and the local part. So local machinery is 8.2 million. For that 8.2 million also we have to grant capital allowances, that is 1,640,000. Then you have given another machine purchased, that is 42 million. Where is it? Yes, machine 3.8 million. Then the balance 12 million. The balance, sorry. sorry, I forgot to bring the question paper. That is why I have an issue. I have to check the machinery account. Okay. Okay, then the machine account breakup of the machine purchases machine is given in the table. It is in the 25-26 8.2 million machines were purchased. So out of that machines, 3.8 machines were imported. The balance part of that machine is purchased locally. In addition to that, 23-24 there was another machine, that is 3 million. So for that 3 million also we can grant capital allowances because that is not yet expired. The 23-24 and 23-24 is the first year, then second year 24-25, the third year 25-26. Still we have another 2 years period that can be granted capital allowances. Therefore that is allowable for the deduction of capital allowances. Then we have other machines that is purchased during the year of assessment 2021, that is 29 million. You can see under other machines. So that other machines are already fully capital allowances are already fully granted because we have purchased that machine during the year 2021. From the 2021 year of assessment, we have to calculate 5 years period. That is 2021, 21-22, 22-23, 23-24 and 24-25. Then it is expired. So capital allowances are fully granted, therefore we cannot grant capital allowances again. So we have to mention it like capital allowance as fully granted. Then there are some specific calculations here. It says, in addition, 600,000 which was incurred for the improvement of the machinery purchased in the year of assessment 23-24. That means during the year of assessment 23-24, we have purchased a machine for 3 million. So to that machine, they have incurred, Mr. Sampath has incurred an improvement expenditure, that is 600,000. So I think you can remember section 14. It says if we have incurred some expenditure for improvement for the depreciable asset, that amount should be calculated in accordance with section 14. That means under repair and improvement expenditure. Even though that expenditure is incurred for the machine used for the business purpose, since we have a specific deduction rule under section 14, we have to do that specific computation. That is why I have mentioned it in the highlighted part. So machinery improvement expenditure should be separately calculated. How do we calculate it? We have to consider the cost of the asset, that is 3 million. Then what is the formula we have to apply? We have to apply 20% of the value for the previous written down value. So what is the previous written down value? Since we are in the 25-26 year of assessment, previous year of assessment means 24-25 year of assessment. So up to that year of assessment, we have to do the calculation to be calculated written down value for the previous year of assessment. How do we do it? First of all, we have to consider the cost of that asset, that is 3 million. Then we have to consider the purchase year of assessment. We purchased that asset during the year of assessment 23-24. That means for the year of assessment 23-24, that is the first year of assessment, to that year of assessment, we have to grant capital allowances by dividing it from 5. Then we have to calculate capital allowance for the year of assessment 24-25. We have to divide the balance part from 4. Or this is the formula I have applied to calculate that capital allowance part. Here you can see it. E41 divided by 5 multiplied by 2, because we have 2 years period. That is why I multiplied it by 2. 2 means 23-24 year of assessment 1. For the second year of assessment, that is 24-25. So after deducting these 2 capital allowances relevant for the 2 years of assessments, we will have the balance year written down value for the previous year of assessment, that is 1.8 million. We have to apply 20% for that previous year of assessment, that is 1.8 million. By applying 20%, value is 360. Then we can deduct only 360, not the 600,000 they have already deducted. So what we have to do? Already deducted value is not allowable as a deduction. Therefore, we have to add that total amount 600,000 to the profit. The allowable amount can be deducted, that is 360. either you can add 600 and deduct 360, or the balance in between 600,000 and 360, the difference between these two value can be added to the account. Both are correct. That means you can do this calculation in two ways. Either you can add 600 and deduct 360,000, or the balance 340,000 can be added to the cost, mentioning as it is the not deductible amount. ඒක තේරෙන්න ඇති. ඒ values දෙක හොඳට බලන්න. මේ පියවරයන් දෙක. Because when you are doing this calculation, you can use several ways. So this is the easiest way I am teaching you. If you are very talented, if you know the method of calculation, then you can directly add the undeductible amount to the cost. You can apply two methods. මේ දෙකෙන් කොයි විදිහට ගත්තත් උත්තරේ සමානයි. ඕගලන්ට පුළුවන් 1,06 එකතු කරලා 3,60,000 අඩු කරන්න. එහෙම නැත්නම් the difference between 600,000 and 360,000, because these both values are relevant for one transaction, therefore you can add only 240, the balance of 600,000 minus 360. Two way, you have two solutions. You can apply any method for the calculation. The important thing is the application of this provision, this 20% written down application, application of 20% for the written previous year written down value. So this is the formula. You have to apply this formula for the calculation of repair and improvement cost under section 14. But there is one important thing. Since this expenditure is incurred for the improvement, we applied this formula. Suppose this expenditure is incurred only for the repair, then what is the tax treatment? In this example, you have given improvement expenditure. If I have given you the repair expenditure, what is the tax treatment? Should you apply this formula or not? That is my question. Should you apply this formula or not? Do you need to apply this formula for the calculation of deductible amount or not? Yes, yes, Charit. That is not necessary. It is not relevant to do that calculation, because total repair amount can be allowed as a deduction if that expenditure is incurred for the improvement. Then only you have to do this calculation. You have to apply this formula. Good, very good. Okay. Then we can move to the next computation, that is for the office equipment. Under office equipment account, you can see 8 million as opening balance. Then during the period, 3.2 million assets were purchased. That means during the year 21-22, the value is 8 million. During the year 25-26, 3.2 million assets were purchased. The opening balance is 8 million, that is purchased during the year of assessment 21-22. Both assets are entitled for the capital allowances because period is not yet expired. So we can divide it by 5 years to be calculated allowable amount for the year of assessment. Then we can move to the motor vehicle. It says the opening balance is 16 million. During the year purchased 7 million, 6 million assets, motor vehicles were sold during this year of assessment. So we have several transactions here. Now we can do the calculation. First of all, we have to consider the value of disposal, because in the note it says a motor lorry which was acquired during the year of assessment 21-22. That means you have given a list of motor vehicles. It says 22-23 van 5 million, 22-23 another lorry 5 million, 21-22 lorry 6 million. Note says a motor lorry which was acquired during the year of assessment 21-22. That is asset value at rupees 6 million has been disposed on 1st of June 2025, and a new motor lorry has been purchased for 7 million on 12 December 2025 for the same purpose. So you have given a disposal and acquisition both in the same year of assessment. So we can do the calculation for the disposal. You know the cost of the disposal lorry, that is 6 million. So here I have a T account. We call it motor lorry disposal account. Cost is 6 million. Then for that motor lorry, what is the depreciated amount? What is the depreciated amount for the cost of that for that lorry? What is the depreciated amount? Book depreciation. Because we have to calculate written down value as per the accounts. Written down value as per the accounts. So how do we calculate it? Cost minus depreciation. Book depreciation. So what is the amount? You can see it from the assets and liabilities table. It has given under assets and liabilities, property plant, property plant and equipment table. You can see that value, that is 3.8. That is 3.8. It has given in this table 3.8. So 6 million worth of machine was disposed during this year of assessment. Until that year of assessment, there is a depreciation, that is 3.8 million. So since we need two components for the calculation of the profit or loss of that disposal, that lorry, we are doing this calculation. That means we need the cost and the consideration. Consideration means sales value for the calculation of a fixed asset. Not only the lorry. When we are calculating any loss or profit of any asset disposal, we need two components. One is the cost, the other one is the sales value. Here I have not given a sales value, Therefore, by using the details given in this question, in this note, you have to calculate the sales value. That is why I have mentioned it under this highlighted part, because it is very important. So you know the cost, you know the depreciated value, and you know the profit. You know these three figures. Using that three figures, first of all you have to calculate the sales value. So how do you identify, where you can find asset disposal profit? Because cost can be find out from the table, and the depreciation also available in that table. So how, from where you can find asset disposal profit 800,000? Where is it? How can you find this 800,000? Where is it? කොහෙද මේ ලක්ෂ 8 තියෙන්නේ? Table එකේ 6 million 6ක් තියෙනවා. 3.8 million also available in the same table. How can you find the asset disposal profit? කොහෙන්ද මේ ලක්ෂ 8 හොයාගත්තේ මම? Yes, it is given on the question paper. It is given. It is given. Where? Under which note? Under which note? Yes, under note 1. It says profit on disposal of motor lorry, that is 800,000. So you have only the cost figure, then the depreciation value, then the disposal profit. If it is a loss, you cannot mention it under this part. This is debit part and the credit part. You have a account. In the debit and the credit sides are there. So 800,000 I have mentioned in the debit part. If it is a loss, you have to mention it under credit part. Then you can calculate the bank amount. Bank amount means the disposed value. That means the cost is 6 million, depreciation is 3.8 million. Then you know the written down value, 6 million minus 3.8 million, that is the written down value. After selling an asset worth of 2.2 million, Mr. Sampath gained 800,000. Mr. Sampath has a profit of 800,000. Then what is the value he sold this asset? That is 3 million. That is how we are calculating the cash value of that disposal, 3 million. Since I have not given it this amount in the question paper. After calculating that 3 million, we can do the calculation of tax profit of this disposal. So what are the values we need for the calculation of disposal profit or loss? Sale proceed 3 million calculated now. Then the written down value. Written down value should be calculated, or undeducted capital allowances part. So the very easiest thing is calculation of the written down value. So how do we calculate that written down value? Cost minus capital allowances already granted. So cost is 6 million, capital allowances already granted. How do we calculate that value? We can calculate that value by using the rate, capital allowances period. So what is the period? We have purchased this asset in the year of assessment. When we purchase that asset, we purchase that asset during the year of assessment 21-22. So 21-22, 22-23, 23-24, 24-25. That means for 4 years of assessments we have calculated the capital allowances. We have already deducted capital allowances for 4 years of period. Therefore, the cost is 6 million. We have already granted 4 years period of capital allowances, that is 4.8 million. Then the balance is the written down value, that is 1.2 million. So after deducting that 1.2 million from the sale proceed, we have 1.8 million, that is a profit, since sale proceed is higher than the written down value. Then we have a profit. We can either, it will be a profit or a loss. If it is a profit, we can mention it under profit column. Add column. If it is a loss, we have to add it in the less column. So I think you can understand. If you have any question regarding this disposal and the calculation, you can ask. Then there are some balance assets, balance vehicles, van. So I have mentioned, I have assumed that this van is used for the transportation. Then there is a lorry, another lorry purchased during the year of assessment 22-23. We can grant capital allowances. Then new lorry also purchased. So we assume that this lorry is purchased and used during the same year of assessment. Then we can grant capital allowances. So when you are granting capital allowances for the assets purchased during that year of assessment, definitely you should think whether that asset is used for the purpose or not. If it is, based on some clarification, some notes in the question, if you can consider it has not, if sometimes you can assume that asset is not used for the year of assessment. So you can mention that in the question paper, like I assume that this motor lorry is not used for the year of assessment, therefore I am not therefore capital allowances are not allowable as a deduction. So you can assume, किसी प्रश्नයක් නැහැ අදාළ period එකට assume කරන්න පුළුවන් නම්, if it is not used during that period, you can assume it is not used, then capital allowances cannot be granted. You can make assumptions, but that assumption should be realistic. Yes. Can we do working separately like the T account? Yes, of course you can do, no issue. That is why I prepared this T account here. If you are not using that T account, you can use another way. So the main thing is you have to calculate the book profit, you have to calculate the sales value, because sometimes I am not going to give you that values. There may be some missing values. So if you need that value for the calculation of profit or loss, you have to calculate it separately, no issue. Make a but there should be a working. You have to provide that working, because I will allocate some marks for that working also. Then the computer, you have given software, then laptop, then computers. So software is an asset. We cannot see that software. So we can consider it as an intangible asset. If it is an intangible asset, if we don't know the real lifetime of that asset, we have to divide it by 20 years. But in the practical world, softwares cannot be used for 20 years period. Therefore, I assume this has only 5 years lifetime. Therefore, I divided it by 5, because in the classes, in the schedule, in the 4th schedule, you have given classification of the depreciable asset. In that classification, you cannot see software. you can see hardware under class 1. But we believe that the software can be categorized under intangible asset. But for the intangible asset, we have given a specific time period. If you can refer that act now, it says if we have a useful lifetime, we can divide it by that period. If we don't have a useful lifetime, then we can divide it by 20 years period. So since software has very limited time period, I assume that it has 5 years lifetime period. Therefore, I divided it by 5. Then for the laptops and computers, it is hardware. It has already been categorized in the schedule under class 1 asset. Therefore, it is allowable for 5 years period. Then the computers purchased during the year of assessment 2021. That means fully capital allowances are fully granted because that capital allowance period of 5 years is already expired. Therefore, we cannot grant capital allowances again. Then you have given computer sale, disposal of computer. So you know the value of that computer, that is 2 million. 2 million. In the depreciation part, accumulated depreciation also 2 million. Then you have given no scrap value. Scrap value is not there. Scrap value is not there means we cannot sell that asset for any amount. Therefore, we believe it has no profit, no loss. So that is why I have mentioned no profit or no loss for the disposal of the computer. So it is not necessary to mention any amount here. So I have completed capital allowances calculations. I have completed calculation of gains or profits, or we call it assessable charge. We have already calculated. There may be assessable charge or a balancing allowance. That means this realization gain or a loss. I have already calculated that one also. So if you have any question regarding this computation of capital allowances, you can ask. If you don't have that kind of any question, we can move to the next part. If you need a break, I can give you 10 minutes break. If you don't need, we can continue and we can finish our session today once we finish this question. Do you need a break for 10 minutes or not? Do you need a break? Okay. No. Yes. Without having a break, we can start and we can continue this. Then staff welfare. Staff welfare is provided here. For the staff welfare, I have given you a breakup. Breakup says death donation. Then you have to consider whether these expenses are allowable or not. First of all, we have to consider whether this is incurred in the production of income or not. If it is incurred in the production of income, then we can allow as a deduction. But very important thing is you should have knowledge about section 10, section 12 and section 12 to section 19. Specific deduction rules, common deduction, general deduction rule, main deduction rule. So death donation expenses are not incurred in the production of business or investment income. So we cannot allow that income, that expenditure under death donation. Under business income, we cannot deduct. It is not allowable expenditure. Then the T expenses. T expenses incurred for the employees in the organization. Since it is not practical to ascertain individual income, we are allowing it. We are allowing it. I think you can remember domestic expenditure. Under domestic expenditure, I explained if that income, that expenditure is considered by the recipient under their employment income, then we can allow it as a deduction. But some expenses cannot be included in the employment income because it is impractical to ascertain specific amount for that person. That is why we do not consider it for the employment income. As well, we can allow it as a expenditure for the company. So therefore T expenses can be allowed as a deduction. Since the donation is not allowed, we have to add it in the add column. T expenses already deducted, therefore nothing to do any adjustment. Then the staff party. Staff party can be categorized under employment, entertainment. So in the entertainment it says entertainment expenses are not allowed as a deduction. If it is a staff party, it is entertainment, so not allowed. Factory safety uniform. We have to assume that it cannot be wear outside. Therefore, we can allow it as a deduction. If that uniform can be wear outside, it is not allowable. But in the when we are considering the factory safety uniform, we have a picture. We can see it is not wear outside. If it is a sari, if it is a t-shirt, we can wear outside. But since it is a factory safety uniform, so maybe loku sapattu dala, big shoes, that means safety shoes, safety uniform, hat, helmet, we cannot wear outside, therefore we can allow it as a deduction. Then the Pirit ceremony. Pirit ceremony is also a part of the entertainment, therefore we cannot consider it as it is incurred in the production of income. Therefore we cannot allow it as a deduction. We disallow it. 800,000 should be added to the book profit. Then management fee incurred for the business, no restriction, without any restriction we can allow as a deduction. Then advertising. Under which category, under which provision we have to consider advertising? What is the section? Section 15A. Marketing and communication expenditure. Under marketing and communication expenditure, capital nature expenditure also can be allowed as a deduction, but it should be within the purview of that definition. So we have to consider the Marcom expenditure. If TV and radio advertisement, it is allowed because it is within that definition. So you have to refer the definition for marketing and communication expenditure. Banners and sponsorship of souvenirs, we can consider it as not allowable because it is not incurred in the production of income or investment. Banners and sponsorship, sometimes well wishers like that, it is for a school souvenirs. We are well wishing of for the well wishers, it is not allowable. Then production cost of TV advertisements, it is a capital nature expenditure, but we can allow as a deduction under section 15A. Cost of forwarding also can be allowed as a deduction, even though it is a capital nature under section 15A. There are some expenses. If it is a production cost of that advertisement, then we have to consider whether it has been done by the local institution or not. If it is done by the foreign institution, capital nature expenditure cannot be allowed as a deduction. So please refer section 15A, mainly the definition for section 15A. I have given it under business income, 2 sets of slides. Then the foreign travel expenditure. If it is a private tour, not allowed as a deduction, therefore I added it back. Then it is a foreign training, can be allowed as a deduction. Some can consider it as a capital nature. If it is a capital nature, we can add it back to the profit. If it is a revenue nature, we can allow it as a deduction. Assumptions should be made by you. Then the final one is gratuity. Gratuity is a provision. So I think you can remember, provisions are not allowable as a deduction. Only the payment of gratuity is allowable as a deduction. You have given only the provision, so you have to calculate the payment, gratuity payment. How do we calculate it? You have opening value and you have closing value and the provision during the period. All values are there. By including that values to the T account, you can calculate the amount paid as a gratuity. So this is how I have done that one. I have mentioned it in this highlighted part. You have given opening balance and you have given the closing balance. What is the opening balance? Opening one is 4.6 million. 4.6 million. Since this is a provision, opening balance is in the credit side. Since this is a provision, open balance is in the credit side. 4.6 million. Then closing balance should be mentioned in the debit side, that is 6 million. 4.6 million, then the 6 million. Then you have given the provision during the period. It is mentioned under the table, big table, table 2. In the table 2 you can see provision for gratuity under third line. Provision for gratuity, that is 2.9 million. So that provisions are not allowable as a deduction. Therefore, we have to add it to the profit. Here 2.9 million I have added to the provision. Then you have to calculate the paid amount. It can be allowed as a deduction. After applying that 2.5 million to the credit side, you can calculate the paid amount during the period. So that is 1.5 million. That amount can be allowed as a deduction. Then donations. Then what else? Then we can move to the table 2, because in that table all expenditure included in this table 2 were already deducted. All these expenditure were deducted, but we have to consider whether those are allowable or not, because we have considered only few expenses mentioned in each note. Staff's welfare we have already considered. Machinery maintenance we have already considered. Provision for gratuity already considered. Advertising already considered. Foreign travel considered. Depreciation considered. Entertainment considered. Bad debts. Bad debts, that is 6 million. Since it is a bad debt, we can allow it as a deduction. If it is a provision for doubtful debt, it is not allowable as a deduction. So bad debts, it is okay, no issue. But the provision for doubtful debt, it is not allowable as a deduction. So I have included it here. Then the donation. Bad debts allowable. You have to mention it here. It is provided under table 2, note 2. So bad debts allowable. The provision for doubtful debt, it is not allowable. Then the interest 1 million, that is allowable. Interest allowable. I have not added it, deducted it, because it is already deducted. Interest is allowable. Yes, you can share. Today's attendance can be shared. So finally you have given carried forward loss. Carried forward loss can be deducted against the profit if available. So you can see there is a profit, because you have in the add column you have 70 million. In the deduction column you have only 22.9 million. The balance is 47 million, that is a profit. That means you have a profit for the year of assessment 25-26. Therefore, from that profit you can deduct carried forward business loss 5 million. So after that your assessable income from business is 42.2 million. So this is the way of calculating assessable income from business. You can see there are some expenses that are allowable, that is already deducted, but I have mentioned it in this answer sheet. That means when you are doing your calculations, even though that is already allowed, already deducted, you have to mention the expenditure, and you should mention it as allowed or allowable. Because when I am allocating marks to this answer sheet, I will allow you sometimes at least half a mark, quarter a mark, I don't know, sometimes 0.25, 0.5, 1 mark, 2 marks I can allocate. Therefore, each and every part you have to mention. That means even though that is allowable, that expenditure is allowable, suppose it is T expenses, it is allowable, but you have to write it. T expenses, it is allowable, like this. එතකොට ඒක හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. මේ වගේ හැම එකක්ම ලියන්න ඕනේ. For every expenditure you should write something, allowable or disallowed or allowed. ඒක පැහැදිලිද? Is it clear? So this is the second question paper. I want to see you a model question paper. Prior to that, if you have any question, you can ask. ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න. සිංහලෙන් උනත් කමක් නැහැ. ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න.
Madam, if possible, can you share the another model paper also?
I'm sorry, actually I'm not going to share the model paper, but just I want to show you it, how I have formatted it. Only I can show you that one. I am not going to share it because I have not yet prepared that kind of model paper. Just now I included some figures to show you how it will be. Because it is a combination of the assessable income from employment and assessable income from business. Nothing special. I have already done employment income questions, and I have already done business assessable income from business questions. So this is a combination. Your model paper is a combination of these two, assessable income from business, employment and business. So you should remind each and every part I have explained when we are doing employment income and the business income. You have only one question. One question, එක ප්‍රශ්නයයි අහන්නේ. That one question includes employment income and business income both together. ඒ ප්‍රශ්නෙට දෙකම තියෙනවා. That means for a person, suppose it is Mr. Sampath. Sampath has an employment income. Sampath may have employment income. Sampath may have business income. Only one total assessable income should be calculated only up to the assessable income. So here I have calculations, only the calculations. I am not going to give you written questions, only the calculations. It is completely like this. Total marks 40 marks will be given. Each item, each line of this calculation, if suppose here for an example, here you can see 20,100,000. I am going to allocate at least half a mark or 1/4 of the marks, one mark, 2 marks, like that. Therefore, you should write write something for every expenditure. Today's attendance not yet received. So how do you get it normally? Oh no, it doesn't matter. You can do the workings in the same statement or the separated, no issue. But the thing is, I am going to allocate marks for that workings also, because for an example, here you can see workings. These are workings. So for this working, I will allocate marks. Therefore, you should mention it in either in separate form or in the same document. You can do that calculation, you can do that working, no issue. I will allocate marks. මේ ඉලක්කමක් එන ඉලක්කමක් එන්නේ නැති හැම පේලියක්ම ලියන්න. දැන්ට මත් අඩු කරපු එක අඩු කරලා ඉවරයි. We have already deducted, but you have to mention it. That is a paper based, not the computer based. That is paper based. That is a paper based one. So you have to do the calculation. Bring your calculators. I think they do not allow you to use hand phones. Therefore, bring calculators. Only thing is, you have to practice these examples. I have already given what is the exam date and time. So I think Miss Kalhari will notify you. So it is most probably it will be on 26th, next Friday, by 5:30. 5:30 means around 5:45 maybe, I don't know. You can ask Miss Kalhari. Yes, I will share the answer sheet. So I will share the answer sheet. Prasad, I have already shared the answers for the employment income. I think Prasad is here. Prasad or Charit, I can't remember. Who is the course coordinator? Time duration, that is 1.5 hours. That is more than enough. That, yes. Prasad requested the answer sheet for employment income, so I have shared it again. I have send it to Miss Kalhari. I think she has already shared it with you. That means not for this paper, but for the previous paper I have already done. That is exam date and time 26th, that means next Friday, after 5:30 or 5:45. Miss Kalhari will inform you. Okay, don't you have questions about these calculations? Only one answer shared on LMS. That means for the employment income I have already shared. Hello. නෑ ක්ලාස් එක ඉවර නෑ. මේ කල්හරි මේගොල්ලන්ගේ අහනවා මේ මොකද්ද එක්සෑම් එක පටන් ගන්න කීයටද කියලා? Saturday. Saturday. හරි මම ක්ලාස් එකේ ඉන්නේ පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්න මට Saturday නම් චුට්ටක් විතර අමාරුයි. Friday ළමයින්ට අමාරුද? එහෙම කරනවා නම් මට ටිකක් උදේවරුේ වගේ නම් ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැති වෙයි. ඒ කියන්නේ හරි මම කියන්න මේගොල්ලන්ගේ ඇටෙන්ඩන්ස් ෂෙයා කරන්න කියලා මේ කියනවා. ඔබ දාන්න. ඉවර වෙන්න යන්නේ කියන්නේ මම මේ ප්‍රශ්න සාකච්ඡා කරන ගමන් ඉන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ අතරමඟදී කොහොම ෂෙයා කරන්න කියනවනේ. ඔව්. හරි. Okay, she will share the answer sheets. So don't you have questions regarding these exam tax provisions? Okay, if you don't have questions, I can move to the model paper. Then you will have some knowledge about the question paper. Okay, the exam will be like this. So here I have mentioned the individual accessible income from employment. So we have already done this kind of okay, we will discuss the exact date because earlier we discussed with Miss Kalhari. At that time she said that we can do the exam on Friday, but now at the just now she said that we if we can do it on Friday, Saturday it is better. So I have some personal matter after 11 o'clock, that is why I have that issue. But if that exam is in between 8:30 to 9, I think it's okay. 8:30 to 9, 9:30, 10, 8:30, 10 period is okay for me. So I will check with Miss Kalhari and I'll let you know. Is it okay for you for Saturday morning time? Because I don't know the timetable for Saturday exams, so I have to discuss with Miss Kalhari. Then we will arrange it. Okay, so your question paper is like this. So you have to calculate accessible income from business. That means we have already done this kind of calculations. So that same person, this is the question. The question will be like this. So this is for the employment part and this is for the business part. This is for a same person, not the different persons, different individuals. So Mr. Heshan is the manager of working in the company in Sri Lanka, like that. So this is his employment income details. You will have given basic salary, motor vehicle allowances, like all other details of the allowances, then all other cash, non-cash benefits are also there. So you have to do this calculation. In the same question, you have to start from the employment income because it is the dominant one. So after calculating the accessible income from employment, you have to do the calculation for accessible income from business, like we have done it today. So this is the second part. I have amalgamated two questions for your understanding of the model paper, your exam paper. So this is not the model, this is not the model paper, but only the format of the model paper. So if you have any questions, you can ask. Finally, you have to do the calculation of total accessible income. Here you are required to compute the total accessible income from employment income and business income. මේ වගේ paper එකක් තමයි දෙන්නේ, employment income and business income together. So you will allocate 40 marks for this question paper, and time is 1 hour and a half. It is a paper based, not the computer based. So these are the things that I have to tell you. So if you need more details, yes, you can share the attendance. No issue. So if you have questions regarding the employment income, now you can ask, because there may be some absentees for this period. So if you need clarification regarding this employment income or business income, now you can clarify those issues. ඔබට ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් employment income ගැන හරි business income ගැන හරි අහන්න. මම මේක මෙතනට දැම්මේ ඒ නිසා. Today I shared the answers for the employment income. Do the calculations. Practice that paper several times, employment income and the business income. questions? All are clear? Yes, there is an issue, madam. When considering vehicle benefit given to employees, is it considered as an employment benefit? It is considered as an employment benefit. Yes, that is true. On the other hand, is it a taxable expense to the company, or is that considered as a road vehicle? Actually, if it is a car, we consider it as a road vehicle. Therefore, we will not allow capital allowances for that vehicle in the hands of the company, or in when we are calculating the business income. So for the employees, it is a benefit for them, but capital allowances cannot be granted for that vehicle if it is a car, if it is used for the traveling. But other expenditure can be granted. Other expenditure means maintenance charges, fuel charges can be deducted in the hands of the company or the businessman, because in the domestic expenditure part, if you remember in the part B, first part is for the expenditure incurred on behalf of himself. The second part of the domestic expenditure is if that expenditure is incurred other than that person, and if it is included in the person's income, then we can allow it as a deduction. So therefore it is allowable as a deduction. So can you remember that domestic expenditure? What else? තා මොනවාද ප්‍රශ්න තියෙන්නේ? Vehicle benefit, when you are calculating the vehicle benefit, if you have given a driver, if you have given a motor vehicle, if you have given fuel, then calculation method, you should know the calculation method. 20, 10, 20, that means 50,000, that is per month. That is one of the mistakes students are doing. So when they are calculating annual income, they consider only the monthly value. So vehicle benefit and housing benefit is available for the monthly in that circular, but you have to multiply it by 12 for the calculation of yearly period, year value, year of assessment value. Then for the telephone allowances, fuel allowances, vehicle allowances, without considering any deduction, total amount should be considered for the as that person's income, because it is an allowance. Only 20,000, 10,000 and 20,000 for vehicle, driver and fuel should be considered if it is a non-cash. So we call it non-cash, because without cash we are considering, we are granting to employees, we are providing to employees, so that is the value. But if it is an allowance, total amount should be considered. Then if it is a reimbursement of communication expenditure, telephone expenditure, Then if it is a reimbursement, then we can apply 50% of the benefit as taxable. So those are the main areas we have to consider. Then when you are calculating business income, book depreciation not allowed as a deduction, then capital allowances should be calculated. Then you have to calculate balancing allowances or assessable charge, that means disposal profit or gain. When you are calculating disposal profit or gain, definitely there should be two components, that is the cost and the dip consideration. Sometimes I am not going to give you the consideration, then you have to calculate it first, consideration, then you have to calculate the profit, taxable profit or loss. If there is repair or improvement, if it is a repair expenditure without restriction, you can deduct total amount. If it is an expenditure for improvement, then only you have to apply that restricted value. If it is an interest, then without restricting under section 18, you can allow total amount under section 12, because we are doing calculations for the individuals, not for a company. Therefore total amount can be allowed as a deduction if it is incurred for the purpose of the business. So for the deduction of capital allowances, owner user condition should be checked, should be there. So those are the main items I have to remind you when you are doing your calculations. So if all are clear, we can stop the session now, because we have, without having break, we have done continuously, we have done the calculation. If you need more clarification, you can ask, otherwise we can stop the session. That is very good question. Let me ask, Madam, when question said company provide vehicle to employee, but in the question not clearly mentioned that vehicle with fuel or without fuel, how we calculate vehicle allowance? If it is only vehicle, then you can consider we have given only the vehicle without driver and fuel. If it is with driver and fuel, definitely we will mention it in the question. If it is not clear, you can assume, assumptions can be made. But if it is a vehicle allowance means that total value should be considered. Then you should not consider that concessions. Concessions means 20 for vehicle, like that. Two different situations. If it is an allowance, total amount should be considered. If it is just a vehicle, then 20,000 per month multiplied by 12. That is the value you should be taken for the. You should be taken as an answer. Is it clear? Let me. මේ ගානේ දෙක තිබුණාද එහෙම? මතක නැහැ. එකක් කියලා නෑ. If it is an allowance, we will give you the value. If we have not mentioned the value, that means it is a non-cash benefit. ඒ පැත්තෙන් හිතන්න. But you can make any assumption. That assumption should be realistic. Okay, Netmi?
Okay, madam.
Okay, shall we stop then? Ravishka Sankar. Yes, there are some requests not to do the exam on 26th. Okay, I will discuss with Miss Kalhari and let you know. It will most probably the exam will be on 27th, not 26th, because there are some requests from students. Students are in very far away, so they will adjust the date. Miss Kalhari will notify the exact time. So if we have an exam on 27th, we don't have class on 26th, because 26th is for the exam. If we are going to do that exam on 27th, no class for 26th. Hello Kalhari. අපි 27 එක්සෑම් එක කරන එකේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැද්ද? උදේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් 8:09 වගේ ඉඳලා අටටද? එතකොට ඊට පස්සේ කිව්ව වෙලාව මට ගොඩක් දුරට මට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් 11ට කලින් වගේ තමයි මට කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. හවස වරුදවා කියන්නේ එහෙම වුණොත් ඒතකොට උදේ වරුව වෙලාවක් නැහැනේ අපිට නේද? ඒතකොට අපිට වෙලාවක් නැහැනේ නේද? අපිට වෙලාවක් නැහැනේ ඒතකොට සෙනසුරාදා කරන්න. ඒක තමයි මට පොඩි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා හවස් වරුවේ නම්. මේගොල්ලන්ට අමාරුයි කියනෝනේ සිකුරාදාත් නේද? අපි කතා කළ කල්හරි මේගොල්ලන්ට නොටිෆයි කරන කාලය ඇතිනේ. අපි පොඩ්ඩක් මේ ගැන කතා කරලා වීක් එකක් තියෙනවනේ. හරි එහෙනම් මේකෙන් පස්සේ කතා කරලා වෙලාවක් බලලා කියන්නකෝ. හරි. එතකොට සෙනසුරාදා එක්සෑම් එක සෙනසුරාදා නම් අපිට සිකුරාදා ලෙක්චර්ස් නැහැනේ. ඕකේ හරි මේ ක්ලාස් එකේ කට්ටිය අහනවා එකයි මම. හරි මම තේනකම්. නෑ කියලානේ. හරි. Okay, students, we don't have lectures for 26 if you have exam on 27th. So still we are not yet confirmed the exam date, because some of the students requested not to do the exam on Friday, so we will have to find out a time. So Miss Kalhari will inform you tomorrow or in the next week period. Madam, if employer paying rent to the tenant on behalf of employee, value of benefit should be that rent amount, right? Yes. Value of benefit should be that rent. Yes, that rent should be considered as the value of that one. Yes, we have to consider it. Okay, if you don't have questions, you can stop now. Miss Kalhari will notify the specific time and the date of that examinations. Then I wish you all the best. Good night, students.
Thank you. Good night, madam.
Good night. Good night.
Madam.
Good night. Good night.